Table Talk.
Brought to you by the Greekish, Rockland County Tourism, and Westchester County Tourism.
Today on Table Talk, Constantine Kalandranis from the Greekish. All right, we're here with Constantine Kalandranis on this episode of Valley Tables Table Talk. Welcome.
Thank you, Mike. I'm excited to be here. I can't wait to see what this new thing's gonna do. I'm nervous but happy.
Oh, don't be nervous. But we haven't met before, so this is really cool to kind of get to know you and learn about how you've gotten to where you are and some of the successes, your awesome restaurant. So, I think our listeners will really appreciate what you have to share.
Yeah. Thank you. We're excited as well and happy to be part of such a cool community. So, whatever you want to know about me, it's yours.
All right, let's dig in. So, Constantine Kalandranis, I think I'm saying that correctly. You're the owner and chef at, I guess the first restaurant was 273 Kitchen, appropriately on 273 Halstead, right there in Harrison.
Yeah, that was my first Westchester County restaurant. We opened it about 5 years ago. We also have a restaurant in Nyack, New York, which opened about 9 years ago. That was called 8 North Broadway. And then we've recently renovated them into a brand called the Greekish, which is the next adventure for me.
What's the idea behind that? Why the name? I don't want to presume here just because your name is Constantine Kalandras that you're Greek.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, you're right about that. I'm Greek American. My dad is from a small island in Greece, and my mom is a New Yorker. By heart and by birth, and we had this kind of idea where we should take on Greek cuisine and make it a little more fun and a little more approachable, a little less traditional. And we have kind of created a vibe that relates to the sea and to fun and to fresh and friendly. And now with COVID, we're trying to be more affordable and have things that are available to go as well. So that's been our new take on how we're cooking Greek food in the next couple quarters.
That sounds like a great concept.
Yeah, we love it, man.
So you're I saw that you're an Astoria guy originally.
Yes.
And that's world famous, especially locally famous for sure, but outside of Greece, some of the best Greek food in the whole world.
Yeah, I've lived in Astoria for a part of my life. I was born there, and I'd moved at some point and went off to culinary school and traveled a bit and worked in different places and countries. And I found my way back there while I was cooking in Manhattan. But that was probably one of the easiest ways to educate myself on what people are looking for out of Greek food, because it's very different on what I think it is, or maybe what my family would say it should be, and what, people want out of it. And I think another thing is Astoria is very different from Westchester County or Long Island or other places where there's smaller Greek communities. And that was a very exciting challenge for me that I feel like I'm starting to accomplish.
Well, walk me through that a little bit. I love Greek cuisine, but I am by no means an aficionado. I know that many of the prominent diners in our area are still run by Greek families, and many of the Greek, people can't say what is it? It's supposed to be gyro, but everybody calls it a gyro. Right. Things that where you're, versus maybe the traditional, what your parents' version of it might be, versus how you're adopting it. What do you think the differences are there?
The first thing to understand is, Greeks are very, very proud, and they really, really take their food seriously as a symbol of what island they come from, or what part, or what their last name is. And then there's this whole great marketing of Greek food being healthy, which it is. Now, I wouldn't call like a gyro healthy or a gyro the healthiest thing on the planet, but you know, a lot of people that come from Greece, they're not raised on lamb every day and heavy things and but it's mostly bread and legumes and vegetables, and once in a while there'll be meat, or you know, fish is more common obviously because they're surrounded by water. You know, the thing that was different for me when we were in Astoria, everybody had a Greek restaurant on every corner and this and that. And it was just fine to walk into a restaurant. The menu was written in Greek and, you know, everybody was from Greece and this and that. But then kind of transplanting that cooking into Westchester County, we had to simplify it. And one of the things that helped me was just relying on local farms and vegetables, because that was always my bridge. You know, I was able to bring in a great local eggplant or an amazing potato or greens, wild greens from different places in New York, and incorporate them into like a horta style greens dish, for example. And that worked. That was like my crutch, you know. So at least they were seeing that there were local farm vegetables and there was all this freshness. They would give me a shot on making this exhibit of Greek food, you know.
So in simplifying it, you make it approachable to your regular diners in that Harrison community. And then I guess you get to also kind of maybe on a special or slowly add to the menu. I'm sure there's a lot of education that needs to happen there too, where your front of staff need to be able to explain what these are and that they have some of these great local ingredients to get somebody to even try something they may have never even seen before.
Totally. I mean, we're very lucky that we're in a time with Greek food where people know what tzatziki is and people know what a gyro is, and you know, people know what kind of style lemon potatoes they're looking for. But to really get into the nitty gritty of it, you have to know the story. So my team has really gotten to know me very well, and they've gotten to know my family members very well, and they get it that we're not trying to totally screw up Greek food in any way. We're trying to make it more fun. We're trying to make it less traditional. You know, we don't want it to be something where you're scared to order or try something. You know, one of the reasons we have so much meze, which is like our word for apps and small plates, is so people can make this small commitment for a $9 or $10 plate, but also have 3 or 4 others and share them with the people they're with, so they can say, we tried something we were expecting, we had something a little different, and then we went for the thing on the menu that we had no idea what it was. And that's kind of like the key. Give them that variety, you know.
Now, it sounds like your family really believed in your talents as a chef. I was reading up that to get 273 off the ground, this was like, let's sell everything we have and support this restaurant. I mean, that's love right there.
Yeah, I mean, I have some really awesome family members. I mean, I'm in business with my father-in-law, who is my partner in all these things, my wife's dad, but there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff too. I mean, my sister, to buy her first restaurant, put her house on a bank loan and went for it. And wow. She was like, you better not screw this up, man, you know, because that's my only house.
Sure.
And, you know, it was a lot of pressure, but from cousins to uncles, like helping fix bathrooms, like we were all in. And, you know, my mother, my father, everyone was really, really contributing. I mean, even I have aunts that are very close to me, and they're very critical on my food, just to let you know. They're like, they tell me what it is and what it isn't. But like they you know, they never eat out, and they would come up and support us and you know, make sure that, you know, we knew what we were doing was about family and all that. So
let's go back in time. It's 2015. You're, I'm sure, doing a lot of work to get this restaurant open. You're doing menu conception. You've got an idea. You open, and it's opening night. Is there a big crowd on opening night?
Say it again.
Is there a big crowd on your opening night?
There was. It wasn't supposed to be. I mean, everyone told me Harrison was dead and it was like a no man's land. And why did you pick Harrison? And I said, man, I don't know. I don't know. I hope I didn't make a bad mistake. And,
well, why did you pick Harrison? I mean,
so the whole story behind why I picked Harrison was we had our first restaurant in Nyack and it was doing well. And we had purchased the building and we were ready to expand. And somebody who was very close to me was my attorney, said to me, I got this coffee shop that's not working. Do you want to buy it? And I said, well, I'm broke. So how about we partner up somehow and we make it into a restaurant together? And he trusted me and we did it. And I wasn't too knowledgeable on what Harrison was or wasn't, but we had about a month to get it ready. And
wow.
so we wouldn't, lose our momentum and lose money. And so we converted from this ice cream shop type coffee thing to a Mediterranean restaurant quickly. But it was awesome. The first night we were packed. I don't even think we had the bathroom signs up yet. Like we were just calling it friends and family, and like everybody walked in, and I was cooking things that I thought should be on the menu and hoping not to run out, and everybody dug it. From there, we decided that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try to like not make these menus so specific. We're gonna try to really prepare things that day, sell them, and then change them up so they don't stay on the menu too long. And that's what's been working. That's what people, even with our menu that's on the website, people love to come in and really see like what is the fish of the moment, today, and what is the butcher's cut steak, and what's the Greek pasta that you're making.
Do you
and
change it daily?
what other things,
Is it a daily change on the menu or?
Yeah, we do these daily things because we want to stick with the freshness. I mean, we go to the markets, and it's really hard for me when there's a menu that's restricting what you can buy and what looks good, because langoustines look great today and scallops might look good tomorrow, or yellowfin tuna or swordfish, but it's so much easier when you can just have a little format that says like this is going to be of today.
So your first restaurant then was in Nyack, not in Harrison. Okay.
Correct.
Now that's been rebranded as the Greekish.
Yeah, yep, they're both rebranded as the Greekish. Correct.
Okay. So when did that open, the first one in Nyack?
So the first restaurant in Nyack opened in 2012.
2012, okay.
I bought a building in Nyack, and we closed on it the day after Hurricane Sandy.
Okay.
And it was weird that restaurant, it was one of the only restaurants in town that had power through this whole power outage after Hurricane Sandy. And the same thing, we opened very, very shortly thereafter. And it was I would say a slow process because it was an old building with a lot of things that were broken, but it's still there today. We own the building. It also holds a Greekish now. We rebranded both of them during COVID when we had the time to really put the walls up and do some painting and some redesign, and now they're rolling.
I want to go back though. I was trying to get into this frame of mind with you where you're opening your first restaurant. You've got all this pressure on you to succeed because family members are so committed. You don't want to let yourself down. You don't want to let your family down. Hurricane Sandy just happened. You're one of the few places with power. Are people coming in? Is it crowded? Is it, when do you ever question, did I make the right choice? Yeah. What were those early days like? I mean, that must have been.
Sure. I mean, to be honest, this was like the timeline for my first day in my own restaurant. The first day we did anything, through a couple tragedies that happened that day, which seems to always happen. We opened for just family and friends and so on. And the next day we closed just to make sure everything is cleaned and everything is put back together that was broken the day before, or recipes that didn't work or things that took too long. On the first day, you're hoping to do 20 people, and we did probably 40. And the restaurant should do a lot more than that on a night.
Still an early win to be above.
Yeah, it's an early win, but it feels like the hardest 40 people you've ever done. And if you felt like that every night, I think we would just throw up our hands and say forget it. But you're worried about, can I do this, and how am I going to pay the bills if I can only do 40 people? And then you just put your trust in the restaurant business, and you realize every day becomes a little bit easier. Every day one more person finds out. And that's when it gets exciting. That's when you're getting the real word of mouth people. But along that way, a pipe breaks, or a wall needs to be fixed, or the building department walks in and they don't like the way something's done. So you're playing that game the whole way through.
So what are some early memories? So you see like, this is a little busier than it usually is. People are starting to catch on.
Yeah, I remember that day exactly when I felt like that. I had been working a lot, and at some point we were really getting to capacity, and I said to myself, I'm having trouble like cooking and expediting and like figuring out what's wrong on the floor. So I told my chef, you're going to expedite, let the cooks cook. I'm going to stay out of the kitchen for like a Saturday night. And it was like one of the busiest Saturday nights we've ever had. I think it was our record. And I was nervous because I'm in the kitchen and everything looks good. And that's when the first time I realized, like, holy cow, this is like, first of all, it's loud out here in the dining room. Second of all, like, people really enjoy it. Like in the kitchen, it never feels like that. It feels like, man, like this is wrong and that's wrong and this is, but it's like these people really like it, And I remember at the end of the night, I had a glass of wine with my wife, and we looked at each other and realized, like, this is how it's supposed to work. This is the way, granted, we had my father-in-law there, my wife, my cousin was working with me. We were all in, but, that's when we first realized, like, okay, this can be very rewarding,
That must have been a great glass of wine.
Oh, man, I'll tell you. I'm not sure if I fell asleep or what happened after that, but it was worth it,
I saw you went to the Culinary School, the Culinary Institute of America, right here in Hyde Park. Did they prepare you for that? Did they have like the success class that this is what you can expect when your restaurant is a runaway hit?
Not at all. No. Probably on purpose. They want that shock factor. But I really am blessed to have an education like that. And I think I made the best use of any extracurricular activity, whether it be, working or we could do volunteer stuff. It was a great academy, but they definitely don't prepare you for those wages that you're going to make, or that you'll be paying back your school loan for the next decade. But there is I'm referencing all that education now, like 10 years into it, when you realize, oh, there was a reason that we took a business law class, or these empowerment classes on how to be a good manager and things like that. And I really reference that now, but right out of the gate, it was the farthest thing from, what the culinary school was like. It was like, this is just day by day. You hope you make it, and you thank goodness you did, and keep going, and don't stop.
Is there a good community? Is there a good alumni community of people who have graduated the school? I know it's local, and many people go on to success, and a lot of people stay around here. How in touch with each other are you guys through the school?
Some of the hardest times to find employees. Now it's a very hard time to find employees, but we've had those patches along the way. And I always can call up the school and say, I need a pro, or I need an extern, or I need someone who's kind of in the middle that's trying to get to that place. And it's been amazing for us, because even if a student or a candidate's not great, the desire's there. They obviously went to the school for a reason, and this is any of the schools. I have to say, coming out of ICE, those students right now, they're great. That they're coming in, they're working, and they get it. they get that, you know, you have to work hard, and it's not always happy and fun, but there's a grander scheme to it also.
One of our
That's been
recent
helpful.
conversations, we spoke with Josh Kroner of Terrapin Restaurant, and he was commenting on how the chef profession, many people perceive it to be this glamorous job, but it's a working class profession, and it's hard work, and you're in there grinding in the kitchen, and you know, making sure everything is just right.
I would say there's a bit of a misconception. You know, it's been definitely glamorized, you know, in the last decade or so. But I mean, when I started, I remember it being very exciting because I was young, so there was a lot of older gentlemen with tattoos and very tough, and they were cooking, and I thought, wow, look at that, look at these guys and what they can do in one night. And I kind of just slowly grew up in that atmosphere from a young age. But there's, you know, you can't just open up a cookbook and see a chef in their whites and assume that, man, they're just going to be like creating and, you know, taking pictures and making food look nice. We do that, but they don't realize, like, you know, the floor drain just backed up and you're sitting in murk, and that these 4 people quit or got fired, or there was a catastrophe, you know, or COVID. Like, you don't realize the stuff that you're cooking through, which makes it so much more interesting. But I would say rewarding, yes. Glamorous, no. No.
So you mentioned, so you started off at a kitchen at an early age.
Yeah, I did.
In a professional kitchen or more in the home kitchen?
No, I was in a restaurant kitchen. I was about 14, and I started, you know, the same way. Everyone thinks, you know, does your dad own a diner or whatever? He doesn't. You know, my father's is an architect, believe it or not. So the last thing he wanted was me to go into a restaurant kitchen. You know, that's kind of like, you know, going backwards. But
so was this an after-school job, a summer job?
For me, it was a full-time job. Like, you know, the honest situation is, you know, my parents had broken up and we needed money, and I wanted to get a job to help out.
So
did
you drop out of high school?
It was in junior high school.
Junior high.
Yeah.
So you dropped out of school and went right into the kitchen?
No, I didn't drop out of school. Oh. I was working after school and on the weekends, but I'd found a job where I could work in a bakery overnight. So I'd work there in the summers. It'd carry through to the fall, and then I'd be falling asleep in school and this and that. So I, you know, went from job to job, but I never got into fine dining till I was like much older, after culinary school. Okay. I was working in gyro shops and pizza restaurants and snack bars and all that kind of stuff. And then, well, I will say I learned how to work before I went to culinary school. I didn't know how to cook all that well, but I learned how to, like, you know, work and figure it out.
Was there an inspiration when you were in those days working where, like, did you see yourself as a restaurant owner? Where did you envision you would end up?
Yeah, I loved it, man. I was doing it. The initial reason was kind of out of desperation or wanting to make money. That was the initial reason, but I fell in love with it. Like, even some of my mentors that aren't these famous big chefs, I mean, they were something special to me, you know, and they helped me. They helped me go to culinary school. They helped me get a scholarship. On top of that, they were able to run, you know, $1 million enterprises, you know, by themselves. And, you know,
Can you share who were these people that helped you out?
I mean, I had a gentleman named John Dolgaris. He was an accountant that became a restaurant owner in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. And he really kind of pushed me to go to culinary school and helped me get a scholarship. And, you know, he taught himself, you know, the whole trade from nothing. And then from there, I had teachers like Alfred Portali was a great chef I worked for, Scott Conan. I'm pretty sure he didn't like me very much. Mike Psilakis, I mean, he really took me under his wing, and he brought me all over the world. He brought me to Australia. He brought me to the White House. We cooked in Greece. You know, I learned a tremendous amount, not only about being a chef and how difficult it is, but what that glory really looks like. It's tough work, you know. So I've been very fortunate to have some amazing teachers along this whole way too.
Is there a Greek community of restaurant owners in the Hudson Valley, or maybe larger New York
Yeah,
area?
yeah, we stick together. Like, you know, a lot of the churches, you know, you'll see all the diner guys and restaurant guys kind of hanging out, and you know, you know, I know one of the son of the Livanos family, Johnny,
Sure.
who's helped me just at the restaurant now that we opened the Greekish. He's come and bartended a couple weeks because he knows, you know, we need that touch, that feel. But you know, I think restaurant people in general tend to stick together. I mean, there's this bravado thing going on, but we usually break down that wall, and like we're trying to trade secrets, whether it be who cleans your hood, or is the health department on its way, or you know, where do you get your meat? Because the restaurants become so much better when it's like that. You know, the neighborhoods become better.
And it builds up the community too as a
Yeah,
dining destination. I mean, the Hudson Valley over the last couple of years, including Westchester, I know you're in Westchester and Rockland. I mean, just the growth there in my lifetime is really special. I mean, you mentioned the Lavanos and the ability
yeah,
to take formal Greek food and make it approachable in a community. Like the Modern Barn is one of my favorite
I
restaurants.
know, it's amazing.
What they've done.
They're an amazing family. Like, I mean, and just to your point, the Hudson Valley, you know, it's funny. We were in the city cooking food that was coming from the Hudson Valley, and it's like you turn around and go back to where it is, and you realize how much more exciting it can be. You
Right.
know, it's really something that restaurants now and 10 years ago, it's completely done a 360.
Well, the quality of the ingredients. I mean, if you're in Greece, and I've eaten in Greece, just the quality of the ingredients. You're on one of those islands and you're eating just caught fish or fresh produce. I mean, granted, the fish you're not gonna you're not gonna get here to that quality, but maybe it's the trout that's here. But
Yeah,
certainly the produce, it's a special thing. You just the
it is.
proximity to the quality of the ingredients, and I think you're onto it by putting those. I see you feature your farm partners, the people who help your ingredients shine. I think that's
Yeah,
spot on.
yeah, man. Like, it's a commitment. The even if not everybody will notice. I mean, that's a weird gray area. It's a commitment. You know, it's a commitment to the purveyor, or the fishmonger, or the farmer, because it's not always better or easier, but it's about where it's like kind of coming from. And you know, yeah, a tomato in Greece is like what just happened, you know.
Right.
I mean, fresh caught fish, but it's also the consistency of that commitment. You know, it has to happen from all of us in order to get to the next level.
So what is success for you defined as? If we fast forward and, in 10 years and you look back and I've made it, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, that's a weird question. I you know, we had a restaurant that failed. It was there for about a year. It was in Mount Kisco. And it was after I'd opened my second restaurant. I'd opened a third, and I was like, all right, so you just work hard and things work. That's how it goes, right? And that's not the case. But I used to ask myself that question right around that time. What is that? What am I like successful? I mean, I see all these other restaurant people and they have like this and that, and I see my peers in my age group, and you know, for me it's about, like, I really have a, a great feeling when I can feed the community. I know that sounds really cliche, but when you're able to be part of something and and you can express yourself through food and helping other people and teaching them. I mean, we don't have a big team, but we teach them how to be great at what they do and to move on and become parts of society, just like we take part in a hospital venture or donate our time to a fundraiser. It's important, and I think it's very exciting, and I take it for granted, because I have peers who are accountants, and they're like so excited about, our life and our day to day. And I'm like, well, check out my bank account, man, if you want to see exciting. I mean, there's nothing
Right.
going on over there.
Right.
But
those aren't the thrills we're
I
looking
have so
for
much
here.
more. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But we have
Why do you think the Mount Kisco venture didn't work out when the other ones did?
I mean, I think I wasn't much younger. It was about 6 years ago. But when you're learning to develop your team to be your vision, you think it's just, oh, I can just be there every day, and then I'll be at the first one and the second one every day, and I'll be at the first, second, and the third one every day. But it's not that. It's you. And I had a great team at that point, but I didn't have the system set up in the right place. I had the food, I had the kitchen, I had service, but it wasn't. I was dropping the ball at one of them, and I really didn't want to drop the ball at the first two. And it happens. It was probably a terrible location, and I don't think I really told myself what do I want to be at this point. Like, I have these 3 restaurants that have no clear identity. And I think that's really what led me to create the Greekish, is I wanted people to know where they were going before they came in. So they had some sort of expectations that we could either manipulate or adhere to,
So I would think that at some point, having multiple restaurants, there's an economic benefit because you're buying ingredients at scale. You can do things like a common accounting department or common, purchases. But you talk about your personal involvement. At some point, you can't be in all these places all at once, and you got to trust the people who are there and the system that you've set up. And that's a hard departure to go from you're the figurehead, you're the face of the restaurant, to you're just now the guy who's conceptualizing the vision for this restaurant and not really there on a day-to-day basis.
That's like the toughest, that was the maturity that I needed. It was totally that. It was, hey, you got to let someone else take the torch at this point. And it wasn't that I didn't want the best for them. I didn't want them to fail. And it's so true. The second I grew up a little bit and I let go, the more I let go of it, the better it was. And I realized you brought in these smart, intelligent, hardworking individuals. Let them be that, let them do that. I mean, chefs will go home, if they're home ever on a Saturday night, they're biting their fingernails because they're like, what am I doing here? But
I could be helping.
Yeah, you can't, that's what we need for this next group of chefs. We want them, the generation before me had a very tough restaurant industry. It wasn't glamorous at all, and it was dirty, and it was criminal. And it's a little more sophisticated now, where we get to wear a white coat and like talk on Zoom and all that. But next is, quality of life, balance, and teaching the young chefs, like, yeah, you can be a badass and all that, but this is a long-term thing.
Is there a test that you give them to join the staff? Is there, that there's that mythical make me an omelet and I'll know just by your omelet, like whether or not you can be hired? Is there some version of that for your team?
Yeah, that's like, you walk into a kitchen from Culinary School. Somebody called you, said you're hired because they need you yesterday. So you run down there. You get greeted by a very, pretty team in the front, and then you go into the back. Now nobody speaks English. It's loud. People are cursing and running, and there's no one to really go to, and that can suck, you know. And we try now to like make that different, but when you get through that first part of it and you realize I'm still here for a reason, I'm still here to learn, that person has kind of made it in my mind, because that's not easy.
So does part of you, I mean, part of you must love being a chef and making, you know, coming up with these recipes, and, you know, there's some family history, I'm sure, with things that were important to your own family, and now conceiving that and modernizing it for the, you know, for the customers. Do you see yourself, it sounds like your growth track is to just be the restaurateur who's got many successful restaurants versus somebody who's making the glamorous meal in the kitchen, getting the accolades?
Yeah, I mean, I think my goal and my portfolio is to, you know, expand the company, and see how I can do that carefully and successfully. You know, I think there's a lot to be said now for one thing done well and simple concepts. We see that from taco joints, and we see that from the meatball shop, and we see that from those things, but there is a lot of work and planning in all those things, all those ventures.
So what is that signal for the Greekish? What are if it was one or a few things done well, what are those that you see those like cornerstones of your menu?
Honestly, for us, if I could just sell dips and fresh pita, I think that's what we do consistently well, you know. And I think there's a whole world around bread and dip. You know, it's such an old thing. It goes back to baby food. It goes back to no food. It goes back to ovens. It goes back to, you know, and people really take it for granted. But, you know,
it's a great way to eat legume too.
What's that?
It's a great way to eat the legume too.
Absolutely.
I mean, absolutely. My wife and I and our family at home, we try to mix in, you know, this concept of the Mediterranean diet where beans are the protein, you know, at least once or twice a week. And it's hard. Like how many times can we make lentils? You know, the variety of 3 or 4 ways. So I'm, you know, listening to you talk, I'm intrigued about doing more with dips.
Absolutely. I mean, and there's really, it's a platform for flavor, you know, and tahini was just an excess of sesame, and, you know, it happens to go well with the chickpea. But think about just almost any bean or legume could be a platform of flavor for anything else, vegetable, an herb, spice. And, you know, I really enjoy that. I think it's the first thing you put in your mouth. It keeps you sustenance. It never involves meat or fish, very rarely.
Are the customers reacting to that, or do they have more of the traditional Greek point of view where, I mean, are they ordering that other than an app? Are they
I mean, we do this thing called pikilia, which is every one of the dips. So all 6 that we're offering that day, and they get to try them all. And, you know, I don't know if it's because the customers want it or we're proud of it, but that's always where it goes. And when we got into this pandemic, the to-go section, everybody was ordering, you know, first that dips and pita and then
I saw the warm Astoria pita. It was on the on the menu.
Whatever the hell that is.
Yeah,
we started to make.
I was going to ask you, what is that?
Yeah, well, so I grew up in Astoria next to a place that made pita.
So is that where you're getting them from, or are you making them?
Yeah, it's in a different location now, because they got big and famous and all that, but it's the same one. And I used to walk to school and smell it. And, you know, I love it. And we do make our own pita also for certain types of dishes on the menu. We do like something with goat butter and sea salt or lobster on it with fresh ones that we make. But I think it's a consistent product. Has traditional backing, and people love it. I mean, people really enjoy it. You know?
They're fabulous. I'm a big fan myself.
Yeah. So, you know.
All right, let me. I want to go into fantasy land for a second here with you.
Let's go.
Let's pretend we are. What island is your dad from? You mentioned he was from.
He's from an island called Leros.
Okay,
it's in the 12 islands near Turkey.
Okay, so we're in Leros, and we're on the water, and we've got access to the best local seafood, produce, meat, you name it. And we're going to prepare this. And we took the month of August off. And you're there with your family, and I got to come over, and you're making this awesome feast for 12 people. What are we making that night for dinner?
We're making fish and octopus. I mean, that's got to be the like. All right, so we're by the water, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, this is how it would go down. I can already. I guess I've already thought about this.
All right, good.
But in Greece, especially on the islands, the first thing is there's this green called vlita. Vlita is like a wild amaranth, so it grows everywhere. I mean, in red and green, and the ladies all like cut it and boil it with lemon, and that's like the most delicious, like spinachy, wild, healthy thing you've ever had. So that's like the bed for everything. And the deal is with octopus, they have barbecues on the beach, and you can, the men go and they spear fish, and they catch little and big octopus, and they kind of like tenderize it on a rock. That part's a little graphic, but when it's ready, you grill it right on the beach, and you can, wash it in the salt water. You get a nice, beautiful, almost burnt char on it, and you put it on a plate with lemon, and then the fish. It's like you're always gonna find the same. You'll find like bream or a porgy type fish, a bass or branzino. Sometimes you'll find little calamari, but it's all cooked there on a grill with the same stuff: salt, lemon, oil. But that's when you realize like fish has flavor. Fish is not just, and with the sweetness of the greens and maybe some lemon potatoes and pita and now tzatziki. Like, doesn't that sound like?
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, like that's all I want. And like there'll be fresh tomatoes because it's Greece, and you'll have that. And
is there a cooler of beer next to us, or is there like some nice wine? What are we doing? Sure.
I mean, I thought when I went to Greece I was gonna drink all these like great different Greek. It's all Heineken or Mythos. It's like one of those two. But like all the old timers are drinking Heinekens. I'm like, all right, and they order it by the green one. They say, give me the green one, and they'll either have Heineken,
the green one,
or Mythos. Yeah, and they'll bring it.
Oh, I found the food to be fabulous there. Really just a special place. Now, can you do? I know some of it you can't do here. And the green you mentioned, is there something that's similar? Would you just try to do that with spinach, or?
So you're right. You can't get the vlita that regularly. You'll find it at the farmers markets, really deep into the summer, obviously because it's hot. But right now we're using local kale when we can get it, and collard greens, and we've just been taking one and cooking it down the same way, and then we'll take the collard greens and braise them a little bit longer so they have some sweetness, like that southern feel, and we mix them together with some. We've been doing broccoli rabe every once in a while to get the bitterness if it's not there, and dandelion. When you use dandelion, you have a very similar. It's a similar leaf to the wild amaranth, and
you don't have like the arsenal of old ladies in the family picking the dandelions off the side of the highway.
I want them. I want those ladies, because you got to see their hands. They're like bread making hands, and they're just gonna, make those greens good. But
there are spots in Westchester County, in particular, where in the right time of year you will see, the crew of octogenarians on the side of the road with their bag filling up with, trying to make the dandelion blossoms.
I love it. Yeah, you got to get the green ones. The red ones are bitter.
Yeah, right where the Bronx River meets the cross county, there's a big grassy knoll, right? Yeah, that's one spot.
My father-in-law used to tell me, he said,
it's in Yonkers.
He's Italian. He used to say like these Italian ladies would go and dandelions. And I'm like, what are you? I said, where? He goes, yeah, somewhere by the PQE and all
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
God bless him.
So now if we're making dinner at home, I know you're married with 2 children, I see.
Yep, I have 2 children, one on the way, and I have a furry little girl,
All
a
right.
dog named
Many
Stella.
blessings. So if we're making, I mean, do you ever get a day off? What's the day off?
Yeah, lately I've been, especially lately I've been making sure to take a full half a day on Sundays, and then a lot of the nights, I'll take off early,
Okay.
and my team runs it. I'm currently looking to buy another space locally, so
Okay.
I'm working on that. More of creative research and
So
getting
do you
the
ever
finances.
cook when you're at home? I mean, do you cook for your
Yeah,
family, or
I'm always cooking.
is it breakfast? Is it a dinner? Like what's
Mostly dinner and lunch. I mean,
okay.
we always eat the same thing I'll give you my whole repertoire if you want.
Yeah, I want to know. So it's, dad's home. He's got a half a day off.
All right,
He's going to make
So
dinner for us. What's he making?
the first most important thing is I make the weekly food for my dog. That's very important. We do like
You're blowing up here.
yeah, we do like the fresh meat and apples and parsnips and make a stew for our dog Stella. That's done.
So where's that from? The desire to cook food.
Yeah,
for
we
your...
use. I mean, we have like an organic type section that we shop from in Whole Foods, and then, but I'll get some stuff from Scott at Fossil Farms, or we'll
But
do
just
stuff.
the belief that you can't serve the dog anything that's processed, canned food. You want to make it.
Yeah,
all
like you shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. She drinks like filtered water, like with us. I don't know. We just try to get the better product, and we wind up eating some of it too. Probably it's always like a stew of some sort. But
okay.
and we'll make coffee for me and my wife. My kids will always have a smoothie, and then lunchtime we always eat the same thing. It's like sardines in a can, like fresh lettuce, tomato, cucumber, olive oil, and some kind of like local bread. We use this bread from this girl in Katona. I think it's IMBP Bakery.
Okay.
But she basically cooks out of her house, out of a wood oven. It's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great. And then we'll do that. But for dinner, my wife is also a chef, so we met in culinary school, and dinners can get kind of intense for what they should be. But
do you stay out of each other's way, or do you?
Yeah, like
are you looking over her shoulder saying, "What are you doing with this?"
No, like we take turns because it's always something. I mean, she's a critic. I gotta say, like Westchester Magazine's pretty hardcore, but she's a critic. Like even like with the kids' food, I'm like, man, guess I'm not doing this correctly. But our dinners are pretty simple. They're like whole chicken, lemon potatoes, greens are always popular. Our kids are young, so we'll get a box from the restaurant. We do this family meal boxes that has like a grilled protein or kebabs or a fish or whatever, and then it'll come with dips and greens and potatoes, and we'll get a box and bring it home from the restaurant, or I'll just do the same thing at home.
Right.
But I would say whole chicken's like our most popular, the whole lemon chicken. Big butterfly chicken, potatoes, one pan, oregano and garlic, and like let it get crispy, let the fat come out, let it cook the potatoes, don't think about it, and then we just drench it with lemon and finish greens with it at the end. That's like a good meal for us.
That sounds fabulous.
Yeah, that's the best.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you. Thanks for your time today.
Yeah, man, of course. I'm happy to have this session. Very therapeutic.
Good. This is like coming to the psychiatrist.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I got to get a couch in here. I can sit down.
So I also noticed, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about Restaurant Week too. I know that
Sure.
you've been active in that. What does that mean for your business to be a part of Restaurant Week? I know the community aspect you spoke about before, that's something that group always talks about, being a part of the community together in that.
Yeah. We treat Restaurant Week like a holiday. It's a really important week for us. I mean, it's something we look forward to as a team. It's something we benefit from financially because we really invest a lot into it, and we take it seriously. We offer almost the entire menu or a creative version of the entire menu at the same price. So, everyone gets a meze, a dip, a meze, and an entree for whatever price for lunch, and that $10 increase for dinner. And they can order more if they want with some very affordable increases. But this is when we get to meet like our neighborhood. You get to meet the good, the bad, the ugly, but you also get to meet the people who might not come in, who aren't sure if they were going to come in, who are just trying you out. I mean, I think Restaurant Week I wish it was for 6 months sometimes, because it might be just our bracket or how we approach it, but and I've had this conversation with many chefs, and some really don't see how they can make their food that cheap. And I get it. I completely get that. But we're in a right price point where we can just adjust slightly. But the one thing that's important to know is that it's still your neighborhood. Those are the people that are coming to see you. The people from your neighborhood. They're it's an isolated time when you really get to meet everyone. So for us, it's really great. I mean, I couldn't say enough good things about it. And I've done restaurant weeks in the city, which I thought had almost an adverse effect. I think the ones in Westchester, you're actually getting in touch with your clientele and your possible clientele, and some people who may not come back, which is fine. Where in the city, I just remembered being complete madness of transient people mixed in with some of your clientele, which made for a very, very hard to defeat situation, but yeah, man, like Restaurant Week. And I think you can just see how Restaurant Week is developed. I remember when I first moved to the Hudson Valley, it was like 20 names, 20 restaurants were participating. Now it's like a full card of people, and you realize this is a big thing, so I'm a fan, that's for sure.
Constantine, it was great talking to you. A really interesting guy. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Mike. You as well. Thank you for having
dinner
me.
Soon.
Yep, as soon. I don't care. Like here, Greece, wherever you want. I hope to see you soon.
Let's do both.
All right, sounds good. All right, man.
That sounds awesome.
Be super quiet.